with the CNN. He will help us understand what's going on at the CNN. Maybe they ate the wrong food, you never know. But anyway, we're going to just start, and I'm going to just, you know, kick off right now. Let's look at the translation, the body language. We saw President Mahama. Of course, you don't expect him to be smiling all the way as if he's won a lottery or anything, but Israel, what would you say about his demeanor, the way he looked?
All right, for me, I feel that certainly looked like somebody who's still in shock at the way the election results turn out. He's become quite, his disposition clearly tells that somebody who's not very happy. Of course, I'm sure he wished that things would have turned out differently, but it didn't. Now, if you look, and I also saw the two of them sitting on the podium, at the high table, and I was looking at when I think it was the president-elect who had finished speaking, yes, and then he came to take his seat. When he took his seat, eventually the president, so he was arranging his papers, and I'm sure we can get that visual up.
Definitely, we can put that up right now.
He was essentially arranging his papers, and right next to him was President John Mahama, and he was also engaged in something else. It clearly didn't look as if these were like buddies, and they wanted to, you know.
Of course, they're not. They're not. To be real.
Going. But the reports that, you know, keep coming out in the last few hours suggest they've been. I would want to think that they've been talking.
There's a conversation going on.
There's been a conversation going on. But I was just looking at them, and I was like, if you'd expect that they may want to get talking a bit more, and so maybe they will
what is that to talk about?
Maybe lean towards each other and say whisper something.
I'm beginning to get a feeling, Malik, also that this is the things that we've seen. We've seen pictures of Nanado or President Mahama reaching out to Nanado. You know, like I get the feeling now that it's all for the campaign. Sometimes you just want to show that, yeah, you are tolerant and all of that. So you want to do that and put the pictures out there. But now we're beginning to see the real deal.
Well, I think what is at stake is what is creating the kind of situation that we have. I don't think they aren't friends. I think they are friends, maybe not too close friends, but I think they are friends. We have seen them, both of them like to laugh. We have seen them publicly chat and hug each other and shake hands, warm handshakes and all of that. I think at this time, the results have just been declared. The president ran a terrific campaign, sleepless nights, whistle stops all over the place. He's been running at this, had high hopes and aspirations that he will be retained in office, that the tradition will continue, he will have his second term. It didn't quite happen. That alone can create some shock. And Israel was right. The president is clearly in shock. If you look at the body language of everyone who has been in government, you can see clearly that they are all in shock. In fact, the responses that, yes,
you go into an election expecting to win or lose.
Knowing that there are only two outcomes.
Yes.
That you can either win or lose. When you go into an election where you are absolutely sure that you will win, when you go into an election where you are against someone you have beaten before, and remember the NDC's refrain. The president spent only 3 months to campaign in 2012, and he beat someone who had been campaigning for 2 years. When you are faced with this kind of opponent and you are in power, we know the things that have happened. You have commissioned all these projects. You are showing to the people that you have done great, and your campaign is flying. You have the resources, great mobilization and all of that. And the results turn out the way they did, a comprehensive defeat. You expect the president, and this expectation is reasonable, that he will be in shock. That is why he couldn't even force a smile. It didn't happen. Look at Nanado. He's won an election. He recognizes that there is a lot of pain, especially for the vanquished. So being the victor, he tries to be somber. So he's quiet, he's calm, he speaks in low tone, he addresses the president, Mr. President. he certainly wants to manage the situation, especially given the kinds of reports that we are getting, albeit some of them not yet confirmed. But he doesn't want to appear to be overly excited when others are really in pain.
But
to make it seem as if he's rubbing it in your face.
Yeah, but Elton can tell us the extent of excitement that he probably be feeling at this time.
Nana Akufo-Addo.
Yes.
Obviously excited because after, contesting twice, he won. Since 1998, he's been, bidding for this particular office. Eventually got it in 2016 after 18 years in the wilderness. So obviously he will be excited. And for somebody like President John Mahama, who has yet to recover from this, electoral defeat. I mean, a lot of things may be going through his mind. He's going now in history as the first, sitting president to have lost. After just one term in government, he will go down. Some of his party members may accuse him or may criticize him for supervising a regime that brought about an unprecedented number of your opponent in parliament. We are talking about 171. It's never happened in the history.
It's like an extra 50.
Yeah, so he may take the blame, and I'm sure that's probably the reason why you are seeing on his face some kind of, worry. Somebody who has yet to recover from this defeat. For Nana Akufo-Addo and his team, they worked very hard. They won, but I can say that they were not really. They were surprised at the figures they got, and indeed the number of seats that they won.
So what they expected to win, but they didn't expect the margin.
Yeah, because for the first time, almost 10 percentage gap between the MPP and the NDC. Obviously, anyone with that kind of a record will be excited.
These are the pictures from the inauguration this afternoon, this evening, I must say. That's President Mahama. You could see what Israel was describing, his facial expression and all of that. But we see also...
I'm actually looking for that moment. That moment isn't captured yet.
Yes,
but
when
I'm sure they'll pull the one up. And
somehow. And then we see Nana Akufo-Addo as well. Elton, this is the... I don't know, the first time we're seeing the president, not necessarily the president-elect, not today we saw him go to church. Seeing him on TV like this, and I'm, looking at his style, for instance. Are we to expect more of this? I'm talking about how he dresses.
Well, I'm sure that in the days to follow, he may have to amend the way he.
No, I mean, if that's his style, we see a bit of flesh. I mean, on his chest. By
Nana Akufo-Addo, well, maybe his handlers may have to be advised on his fashion sense, because clearly now he's no longer an opposition leader, a president in waiting, hoping to take office in January. A lot will go into.
But you could come with your style.
It could also be it could also be that he's deciding that at this point in time, what I want to signal to people out there is like, I'm ready, waiting to hit the ground running as it may. Essentially, I mean, I'm not so uptight. I'm just about getting ready to roll up my sleeve.
But how do you roll up your sleeve with a suit on? You've got a suit on. You've got to take the suit off.
So if you don't have, you're not buttoning, you don't have a tie, you don't have all of that, it's easier for you to just take off the jacket and then just,
Okay, that's a nice theory.
Roll it up.
But Nana Akufo-Addo is known for a certain kind of dressing. I mean, he's always in a tie, jacket with a handkerchief, just around.
That handkerchief. Actually, what is it about?
I don't know about. Maybe you have to ask people from.
But you followed his come.
People from the Akufo-Addo and Prempeh, because it appears that all of them.
Appear
the same line.
But he didn't have it this time around.
Yes, not today, and not when he went to
because he wasn't wearing tie.
Was it for the election? The handkerchief?
No, the handkerchief goes.
Because after the election, we don't see him with it.
Well,
how much have we seen of him after the election?
He went to check today. We saw his acceptance. Was it acceptance when the day he won? He addressed the people.
I think because he was not in jacket then.
He was not in jacket. When he's in jacket,
the handkerchief is for the jacket.
But I think that for the dressing, and so many people have raised concerns about the fashion sense.
Why does it matter?
You put it. I think the reason this is my analysis of this. I think that he suffered accusations of arrogance and being up there, not identifying with the common man
elitist.
and all of that, elitist. I think there was a certain deliberate decision to appear casual, so that he can identify and shed that tag of being elitist and wearing all the fashionable clothes, expensive suits, and all of that.
Israel, does it work
think
for
it
you?
was deliberate.
Well, people see him. I don't see him the way others say that he's arrogant and all that. I think I would rather see him, or I see him more as somebody who's really confident. He knows his stuff and he knows what he's about, and so he carries himself that way. And I don't see that as arrogance.
No, I'm just saying that's what people say. My sense is he's doing all of this to try and deal with this perception that he's sitting in, he lives in his own world and he doesn't identify with the common man. So dress in a manner as to dress down so that the people can identify. But
not much of a dress down for me, by the way.
Remember that JM also suffered this allegation about his dressing. He wears Lacoste and all of that. There were allegations that he was dressing too casually when he became president.
Yeah, but apparently this time around the handkerchief was there. We just don't see it. But the technical guys say they're trying to cue. Well, okay.
So that we get
to the exact spot, so we get to see the handkerchief.
Yeah, so we get to see the handkerchief. But anyway, let's move on and talk about the names that are emerging. I've seen them on social media. I don't know how authentic it is. Is it?
Well, at this stage, we cannot be so sure about the names. People are just speculating.
Which names are we talking about?
Names of people who are possibly going to be on the team, on Nanado's team. Say ministerial positions. Yes, but there's some names that's going on social media. It's not really authentic.
But it's easy to draft those names. It's easy to we know the people who are in parliament. We know the roles they play. We know those who played roles in the Kufuor government. We know all of them. So you can draft a list. I can give you a full list now, and all of them will look like ministers.
What's going to happen with the shadow ministers that the NPP, for instance, had in parliament, Elton?
I don't know the plan going forward as far as the Kufuor's camp is concerned, because at this stage, and hopefully after the swearing in, that's where you're going to hear names of people who are going to occupy ministerial positions for certain. Somewhere that Alan Chemantin, because Akufo-Addo on the campaign platform said it, that he was going to be made a trade and industry minister. For the others, we don't know, because in Parliament, what the MPP has done is to push people into shadow ministerial positions, and they act as spokesperson for the MPP on various sectors of the economy. For example, you have Dr. Anthony Akuto, who is a minority spokesperson on finance. You have Dr. Akuto Afiye for agriculture, Isaac Osei for foreign affairs, Professor Dominic Fobi for education, and on and on and on.
Is that
they
how
have
it's
deputy
going to
ranking
stay?
members. I don't know whether it's going to be the natural, upgrade to that ministerial position, but this is the preserve of the president to do it. It will be good if that were to be so, because these people, they have identified themselves with the sectors that they may have to speak on, but from the even though we have members.
Okay, that's the handkerchief. Sorry. Okay, there it is. There it is. Yes, apparently he tucked it into his left sleeve. That's what I'm hearing.
Always there.
So there, the handkerchief represents itself very well. Okay, so Israel, you've seen governments, come and go and all of that. What would be your expectations in terms of how he manages who we are expecting to be on his team and who is shadow something for them in Parliament already?
Okay, I'm not sure. I don't think that he will be restricted to want to pick from the people who have been playing these roles in Parliament over the years. I would want to think that he has quite a number of people at his disposal, and there are quite a number of people.
Which is a problem, isn't it?
Yeah. You want to think
that
that should be a problem, because if you're talking about finance, there are lots of people he could pick. And
we've got somebody on the transition team now who
is speaking on finance. And financial issues.
And there is no debate about his quality when it comes to finance.
No doubt about it. I mean, if you take somebody like Ken Ofori-Atta, and from the conversation that said Kwame Boateng had with him, I get the impression, well, yeah,
he's got an interest.
He doesn't mind being given the job. It's more of he says, well, he's okay, and he doesn't mind serving in any capacity at all he's giving. And for me, that signals that, well, yeah, if you give me the finance minister's job, I'll grab it.
Yeah.
But you should also be minded by the fact that the constitution said that you should choose more than 50% of your ministers from parliament. You have 171 members who are in readiness for such a position. So even as you want to maybe explore and bring in more people, you are restricted in a way.
Yeah.
And you have people who position themselves for specific sectors of the economy. So how you're going to deal with these matters plus people you may,
so basically, that you're talking about expertise or people who have got some experience working in particular sectors. Malik, will that be a problem if he should sidestep those who are supposedly experienced to going for people that he believes he can work with?
I don't expect it to be a problem. I don't expect it to be a problem because before all of these, there were people who, the MPP was in opposition for a long time. When he was in opposition, it probably didn't have people who were in parliament and playing all of these rules. And yet when the Kufuor government came into office, it managed to find the right people. We didn't know them. We didn't know what roles they played. But when he came, they identified them and they gave them roles that the government at the time believed that they were capable of playing. And it was important for them to be there. I think that regardless of whatever contributions anyone has made on the floor of the House, and I'm not discounting what contributions they have made, because we know Akoto say he knows his staff. He was in the finance ministry under the Kufuor government. He certainly knows his onions. He knows how to cut them. I do not think that the president will be restricted to picking those people and placing them where they already are. It is entirely possible, and we have seen this with previous governments, that they will pick someone who is playing a role now and put them in an entirely different role, and they will excel. So that can absolutely happen. I don't think his hands will be tied to keeping them to the places where they are now. In any case, where were they? They were not playing those roles before they were put there, and they excel. So they can still be put somewhere, and they will do well.
No, but if you ask me, I would want to think. I think one of the things that the president-elect has going for him is the fact that he has time. He has some time.
Does he?
Unlike 2000 and 2008.
Okay.
Because
but it still looks like very short time.
Well, he still has time, and I think, I mean, if they sat down over 1 week, they can decide. They can brainstorm and decide that okay, these are the people we want to pick. I want to think that he would go for people not necessarily with expertise in the areas. There's some areas that clearly you need expertise. You take the Attorney General's position, for instance.
You'd
want to get somebody who has that background, and not just the background, but the pedigree.
Right.
But there are, I think, for several of the other ministries and portfolios, you should be looking for somebody who has the managerial acumen. That's
someone
what
who can deliver, perhaps.
So that's what you should be looking out for. So not necessarily the person. So the person can be a fantastic doctor. It doesn't necessarily mean that person will be a good health minister.
Right.
So I feel that they have time and they should use that time. I think if they devote or dedicate a week to want to brainstorm.
A week,
yeah.
Is there an example like that in previous government, how they have gone about this with the time frame and all of that?
There hasn't been that they haven't had that luxury of time to get to do that.
Yeah.
But I think this is the one time that they have a lot
of time,
quite a bit of time.
In any case, you can always reshuffle.
Gifty, your question supposes that at this time, whilst they were doing the campaigning, they were not noting the people if they won the election who would play
any inside information, Elton?
Well, they've been in government before, so already they have people who've been in there and they are out. If he wants to go back to the old folks and then bring them on board, some people say that they've had their time. It's about time you bring in people who are hungry for success and who are capable of managing some of the sectors that you want to put them in.
But you follow the team. What's happening in there?
I remember after the declaration, not after the declaration, before the declaration, when everything was looking good for the MPP, then I saw the old folks coming one after the other. Which was expected. It was expected. Osafo, Hackman, also Professor Michael Quay, they all came in. And I also remember
stand up and be counted.
I also remember. Then I also remember
justify your inclusion.
Yeah, I also remember the Friday when Nanado was expecting that call from President John Mahama, and then the formal declaration from the Electoral Commission officer. When we had that 5 minutes interview, I was called into his private office. When I got there, I saw the old folks again in that same room with Nana Akufo-Addo, and they were there from the afternoon that I got there till when the EC finally declared Nana Akufo walked out of the house to come and address the people. And you see, people came in to congratulate Nana Akufo. You would expect that they will have some kind of a minute or two, meeting with them. But these guys were there. So what? There's no chair for you to sit on. There's no chair for you to sit on. So you can only shake hands with them and then move out of the room.
So back to Malik's point is that they may have, had a list already.
Absolutely. So when we are looking at the time, it's not just the 3 weeks that they have. I think that they have had such a long time to go through this campaign. Whilst they were campaigning, they knew who was playing what role and who is capable of playing what role and doing what. Because remember that they were making promises as to they will solve the economic problems, they will deal with education, health, sanitation,
so they must have a
all
plan.
of this. They must have a plan. And that plan must have been anchored on the persons who will play which roles in resolving the problems that they told the people of.
Interesting. It will be a very interesting. So in the next 100 days, when do we start counting the 100 days? When they are inaugurated. Okay, so in the next 100 days, we're expecting to, some of the names. We're expecting to hear some of the names.
That's what the names I'm expecting them in the next.
Who are you expecting, for instance, for finance ministry?
Well, because we've had a conversation with Ken Ofori-Atta.
You're expecting to see him?
I think that he may just find himself in.
He must have competitors. It can't just be him.
Of course, because there's somebody everybody is on the view that
he must
position himself for the role. The spokesperson in Parliament on Finance, Dr. Anthony. He was a deputy finance minister, upgraded to a minister of state in charge of the finance ministry before President Kufuor left office. In Parliament, he's been their spokesperson on finance. He's always taking the NDC on finance.
And he's a member of Parliament.
Yes, so that was
so we're looking education.
Yeah. He's competent. I mean,
no education. I'm talking about Ministry of Education, for instance, and health.
From where I'm coming from, I can only speak about the people who have been speaking to these sectors. So, Professor,
so you mentioned
unfortunately, is not coming back to Parliament. So.
Yeah.
Okay, it will be interesting to know how many people are lobbying already. We believe that it's a very important part.
With all of this truthing that is going on at the residence of the president-elect, as Elton just told us, you can tell that the lobbying is going on.
Lobbying is going on.
And sometimes to the lobbying, you lobby through journalists. So you can see Elton and tell us, don't mention my name. So who told me to mention? Whose names are you mentioning?
Elton, have you got any list?
I don't have a list.
Okay. If Elton doesn't have a list, please leave him out of it. Okay, I think it's good time to move on, talk about post-election later.
But I think that maybe before we move on, one other key appointment that will happen before the inauguration.
Will happen.
Yeah,
should
before
happen.
Because it must happen before the inauguration. Is who becomes the Speaker of Parliament, because Parliament must be dissolved the midnight of 6th of January. A new Parliament on the 7th. They must vote for a new Speaker for him to take over, adjourn the House till 10 a.m. before the inauguration. So that must happen.
Any suggestions?
Okay. So we know that Joe Gate is the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Yes, we know that Professor Makokwe has been Deputy Speaker of Parliament before. And Makokwe is now out of Parliament, but that's what I'm saying. The law says if the person is a member of Parliament, as Do Ajaho was, you can appoint him and let the person abdicate the seat. Alternatively, you can, as Kufuor did with Alajete and Bejina Sechi Hughes or Bamford Ado, just bring in someone entirely out from outside the Parliament and then let the person become Speaker. My money should be on either Makokwe or Jogati, but my money will be on Makokwe because I think he has the experience. He's a lawyer. He's been head of political science department, University of Ghana. He's been MP. He's been one of the stalwarts in the party that has stood with Nanado in all of this when they were taking all of these disciplinary decisions. He was a chairman of he was a member of the disciplinary committee, right? And he's a member of the legal committee of the party. He's played crucial roles in Nanado's bid. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Professor Makokwe
to be the Speaker.
I don't mind Makokwe being made Speaker, but I wish we would pick a woman.
You wish would be, but if we look into the NPP, I mean, who could we pick?
I don't see anybody. I mean, nobody has come to see me that you mention it.
But
So I don't see anybody, but I wish that it would
not
just
names.
pop
I mean,
up.
but looking at their expertise, like Malik has been given names and given reasons why he thinks that those people, his money will be on those people.
I don't
Do
know
we
the
have
people
you
in this that
Israel,
well.
you're trying to be careful.
Oh no. For now.
Or is it that there isn't? Because we talk about, and the thing about women empowerment is that are the women available? Are they?
I'm sure they'll
Exactly. So you should have some names.
Oh no, for me, no. It's okay. So okay, Elton.
Okay.
You have been in there.
Exactly. I was
some
going to come to
people.
you anyway.
I know that the appointment is not competence is key. As a speaker, you need to have some class. But the issue about the balance in terms of leadership, the Speaker of Parliament will become the third most important person in the country. Now, if I should take President Kufuor's appointment, when President Kufuor was in government, he is an Akan. His vice came from the north. The Speaker, Peter Lajete, Egan. Now, there's no way going into 2016 and indeed forming that nucleus, you're going to overlook the tribal card.
Why should that matter?
It should matter because this is a party known to derive its strength from the Akan-dominated area.
Yeah, but that's something that they really fought, and something that, as Ghana's body politic, actually has. People have spoken about it because people are not really comfortable with the way it goes. I mean, it's a fact.
But it will play a key role in selecting who will become.
So I guess that's
Speaker
why
of
he feels that to help address that, you may want to put
look at the tribe.
Yes.
Otherwise, in Parliament right now, if you should ask me personally, for who to become the next Speaker of Parliament, I may go for Papa Usan Kama.
Oh, okay.
But unfortunately, he's going out of Parliament. The permutations may not.
Is that fortunate or unfortunate? It's fortunate.
Well,
fortunate, he's going out of Parliament.
Depends on what you look at
may
it
not
from.
favor him because of the other factors that may come into play in deciding on who should become the Speaker of Parliament. So, Professor Michael Kwe is in a pole position.
Especially now that his region has fallen to the MPP. Maybe they may want to placate the people. Or, they may want to say thank you.
Okay. Malik says Michael Kwe, he says Michael Kwe, Michael Kwe.
No, he actually said Papa Uzan Kuma.
No, but eventually he says
that's the altar against.
Okay.
So you are setting
I
up
mean,
Michael
not that we are preempting anything. These are opinions. I mean, based on experience and expertise and all of
who
that.
Are we?
But oh yeah.
Yeah, the journalists who do the lobbying on behalf of other people. So who knows?
Okay. So, but it will be interesting. We'll get to know in a few, weeks, days. We'll get to know all of that. I mean, after the election, after the declaration of President-elect Nana Akufo-Addo, we know that there have been some unfortunate incidences here and there. We've seen vandalized NDC billboards and burns down toll booths in parts of the BA in Sinai. I must say, there are reports circulating, especially on social media, about Ms. Bell saying that some people came to warn her because she had, of course, campaigned for the NDC. There's this popular actor, Ofake, but then that picture, there was a picture of him with some wounds, but apparently that was a hoax. That's what's happening in Accra. But then this evening, we've also heard stories about what's happening, some confrontations in Eswesha in the central region, seizure of toilets and things like that have characterized, the seizure of toilets especially characterized change of governments like that. Obviously, not something that we want to be really happy about. And I'm wondering what you think about this unfortunate incident.
It's clearly unfortunate, these violent attacks and the rest. They shouldn't be happening. I think we're maturing so quickly as a democracy that these things should be we should put these things behind us. Clearly, you won't see somebody like me, you won't see somebody like Elton or yourself engage in a thing like that. But there are people out there.
But you have left me out. I'm saying that me, I'll be singing. This is unfair. Okay. So you have to.
You will see Malik engaging in something like that. But there are people out there who, on the spur of the moment, with all the excitement, they may tend to do stuff. And sometimes you may want to. These people would have taken a shot of, Goglo or Akpeteshin or DC10 or something.
Hey, Israel, you know the brand.
which raises questions.
Well, so that's the private life. It's his private life. So
they decide that they've seen something, they've seen some billboard, they've seen some poster, and want to rip it off. But it's unfortunate. We shouldn't be doing that. And then again, why would you really want to attack anybody because they voted for one other party.
It appears that it's what happens before the election, because then the ruling party or the governing party, members of the governing party tend to taunt them, you know, and so it's like, okay, it's my turn. And then we get this happening over and over again with every change of government.
It's politics. It's a game, and people, a lot of the time, these foot soldiers, the people who are down there, they take these things so seriously, even more seriously than people who are supposed to be, they're supposed to be fighting for. So you see, when I was in the EC, the National Coalition Center, you know, at the Electoral Commission, I was there with Peter McMahon. There was one NDC guy on my side, he's called Seth, and then there was also the PPP chairman. They were all seated there. And the joke that the others were cracking was, I look at them. They're sitting here, you know, having fun and engaging and all that. Meanwhile, the supporters are down there and they're hitting each other. So this is something they should get, these supporters should get to know. The people at the top, we are supposedly fighting for and, you know, getting injured for, they don't do that. And so you should stay away from some of these things. And it's completely unnecessary. This person that you would have attacked, you know, because your party has won or is going to assume the reins of power, it's completely needless.
Yesterday I saw a story.
Condemned.
Yesterday I saw a story in which somebody hit the other and that person died. He probably didn't mean to kill him, but then he died, which was another unfortunate thing. But looking, Malik, I think
it was not politically related.
It was. But Malik, if you would address how possible it is for us to deal with such situations, I don't know, from your perspective.
It's next to impossible. The only way to deal with it is to move away from the current situation where we have the government is responsible for everything, and people look up to the government for their own well-being. Well-being not because of opportunity to work, but direct beneficiaries of the government. There are thousands and thousands of people who are hangers-on. They are waiting for their party to come into office. They have access to contracts, sometimes unfair access to contract, unfair access to scholarship, unfair access to other opportunities that exist in the society. When this happens, people are willing to kill for their party to be in government. I'll give an example. So I'm going to school with this guy. We are doing the same course. And because his party is in government, he's called and told, go to get fund, they will give you some money. And so the guy goes, he gets the money. I won't get that money if I apply, but he gets that money. And he gets the money because his party is in power. Now, for someone like that, if he will kill for his party to remain in power, he will. But if it was clear,
where your party has clearly lost.
If it was clear, you know? Yes, if it was clear to everyone that whether party A or B is in power, whatever you get depends on how hard you work. Then people will stop being sentimentally attached to their party being in power or outside power, because they know that their personal circumstances are inextricably linked to the fortunes of their political party. So once your personal economy is dependent on whether your party is in power or not, winning or losing then become a matter of life and death. So for you and for others, if their uncle's party is in power, they get to get the perks because their uncle will come home with something and they too will benefit from it. So they want their uncle to continue to be in power. So one way to address this is for the society to be run in such a way that you don't need your party to be in power in order for you to have access to opportunities. That if your party is in power, it doesn't give you better access to opportunities better than anyone else. Until that happens, we will continue to have these things happen. Because if your party is not in power, you can't have access to public facilities to go and take a toilet and then use it for your own benefits and all of that.
That's huge.
Now, going on the back of that, I'd like to look at it from the economics point of view. If you have a situation where the government controls essentially just about everything within the economy, or controls about 80% of the economy, then the stakes become that high for the people in government. But when you have a situation where the economy is developing and growing, where you have private participation, or the private sector taking a chunk of or controlling a chunk of the economic activity within the economy or any country, then government's influence wanes. So if in America you're having huge corporations, you're having Bill Gates controlling so much, you're having several other companies and businesses. Now they take these decisions. So you're looking, when you're looking for a job, you're looking more at the private sector than
more
at government.
than the public sector,
You know, and then when that happens, then the states become that. Now another way of dealing with it is for law and order to work, rule of law. So if there's rule of law, if you go and attack somebody, the law will deal with you. And once you know that the law will deal with you, you'll be more careful.
Yeah.
So this person who went to slash somebody or slap somebody or ripped off a poster, if the CCTV camera is monitoring, and then they realize that, this guy picked, and
you get picked up and dealt with.
And they grab you and deal with you.
Let me bring Elton in here. Elton, could this be solved at the parliamentary level? I mean, at the legislative level, where we can have laws passed or legislative instruments passed to deal with it?
The laws are there.
Oh, I mean, maybe if they are there, they're clearly not working. So maybe there's something. Is it possible from that?
The matter that we are very good at passing laws, but implementing it is always the issue.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, the people who are complaining now, they will tell you that 8 years ago they were victims of the same thing happening right now. And you see, sometimes our politicians, privately, they will tell the people that when we come back, we will make sure that we return whatever you lost. We'll return this toilet to you. These toilets are managed by, or they are owned by the local assemblies. How come that somebody can just
apparently
one day...
now they're no more owned by the local assemblies, that they've been leased to some private company. This afternoon, one of them was speaking on the news that they've been leased to them or something like that.
What about the toll booths? Because 8 years ago, it was also an issue. Now we are seeing some, going to the Senate of bringing them down and all that. So basically, our politicians must begin to disown some of their members who go contrary to the laws of the country. And
politicians disowning members, well, maybe after the election, yes.
And that's a huge challenge, because some of them have been promised that if we are able to win power, we'll make sure that we'll give you back what you were managing before we lost power. And the police sometimes are helpless. They cannot arrest people.
Which is why leadership of those political parties are very important in situations.
Of course.
So we've seen President Mahama this morning. Was it this morning? Yes. Yeah. In that press release that we saw.
Talking about the toilets and how to deal with the toilets. If everybody else had a toilet in their home,
nobody would have a toilet. Absolutely, which is a fantastic point. But see, I think sometimes we give the leadership of the parties more power than they hold. If somebody in my village decides to act today, where is the party leader there? At the material moments that the person is acting, the party leader is not there. The person will commit crimes, commit offenses before the party leader will get to know about it. And that brings me to Israel's point about law enforcement. I think the biggest problem facing this country is law enforcement. If we were able to enforce our laws, we would deal with many of the problems that blight this state.
True.
Problems of energy, problems of indiscipline, problems of sanitation, all of these. He just talked about toilets. There are bylaws that says every person who builds a home must provide for toilet facilities in their home.
But there are homes that were built many years ago.
Even here
in fact, we know that there are toilets, places that were reserved for toilets have actually been converted into accommodation and rented out. When this happens, this is clearly in breach of the law. People then have to resort to public toilets. Public toilets then become a business and then become a focal point for fighting. So if we deal with law enforcement, just enforce the laws, we are done. Unfortunately, we have structured a constitution which makes the enforcement of law itself a problem. If the president has to appoint the IGP and ministers are heads of regional security councils. DCEs are heads of district security councils. You put the politician over and above the persons whose responsibility it is to manage security in all of these areas. I know of instances where people are arrested for violating the law. Very many
politicians intervene, get them
sometimes even MPs, the lawmakers. Elsewhere, that is grounds for impeachment. Here, people can do it with impunity.
And it's very,
tell the police to look away or go to the police station and get somebody who has violated the law out. When this happens, people feel that they have a carte blanche to misbehave. In fact, sometimes misbehave towards the police officers themselves because they know that there's no repercussion. If you arrest them,
as you speak, I'm yet to be told of any arrests. But
so far with all that happening.
Especially with the change of government.
The implementation of the law has been suspended until there's normalcy after January 7th.
Yes.
It's like from this time to January 7th, you can do anything you want and get away with it.
Look, in 2008, in 2009, when Mills was being inaugurated, there were police people who were pelted with water by NDC supporters. What was the reason? Because consistently throughout the campaign, their leaders had made them feel that the police were against them and that the police were working for the perpetuation of the government at the time. So when that happens, you create a wedge between the citizenry and the police. And now I'm sure a similar thing will happen. No police will have the guts to go and pick up anybody, because if you do, they will transfer you to a forgotten village and you will forever regret it. So they will not act.
Yeah. Doctor, talking about law enforcement and all that, one appointment I thought we should have discussed a lot earlier.
IGP?
No, no IGP. Wait, we'll come to IGP. There's been talk about independent prosecutor.
Yeah. It's one of the promise of Nana Adulanko.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about to pick Martin Amidu?
Martin Amidu.
Yes. Martin Amidu, because I feel Martin Amidu is coming from within the NDC.
The NDC.
And if we pick him, if Nanado is picking a guy like that.
If we pick him,
you mean if Ghana
if Nanado picks a guy like that, it's going to send, I think it's going to send the right signals. So that if there's anybody in the past administration that has done, or in the current administration that has done something that he has to, take up, he's going to deal with it forcefully. And then knowing that this is a guy who's not from within us and he's dealing forcefully with his own people, then imagine what will happen to us if we misbehave.
But how do you address the issue that Martin Amidu has personal interest in some of the cases already in our cause, and then you want to consider somebody like that?
Well, yeah,
that's not interest. I mean, is it in the interest of the nation?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, is it in the interest of the nation?
His interests are more, the state's interest that he feels that he has to push, rather than it being
But
his
was he doing all of these? Are we able to tell if he's been doing all of these, for totally national interest purposes, more like?
What other reason? Because the money he's seeking to get from William is not going to come into his pocket.
Yes. Well, some have said that
unless they say they're giving him.
William has said that he's bitter. He's bitter that he's not the president, and he's bitter. But anyway,
I think that was a reasonable argument.
Yes.
That Martin Amidu was doing all of that. He was doing because he's not vice president. He knew long ago that he was not vice president. He was picked. Yes, he knew long ago. He knew long ago that he was not vice president. He was not going to be vice president, and he probably will never be.
Okay.
Because we know that he was picked by the late Mills for the 2000 elections, and they lost. 2004.
And became a shadow vice president.
Great, yeah. So he knew. So if he had,
maybe he had hopes that
he was interior minister,
and then he
became attorney general. All of that time, he was not vice president.
I see.
So
let's go back to our toilet and
say something about Martin Amidu as independent.
Okay, I get the point that
why is he saying so?
Martin Amidu is being lobbied for by Israel. That the point has been made.
Okay.
I think that there are many who believe that Martin Amidu should be made this independent prosecutor.
Okay.
I have my reservations about that, and this is my reason. If that were to happen, and Elton was pointing out, there are people who believe that Martin Amidu was working against the NDC in favor, and that he was being sponsored
by the NPP.
By the NPP. To appoint him will be to confirm that. There are not many people who will see it as a decision which is in the national interest. They will see it as a decision which is politically motivated and accentuated by malice, by malice because you are bringing in Martin Amidu to witch hunt the NDC, which he has a problem with, and you don't want to soil your hands by using your own MPP members. You are bringing the NDC member who was sitting outside and pissing in. You are bringing him to come and witch hunt the people so that you can have complete deniability.
Please,
this,
that's a theory.
How can you describe it as witch hunt?
No,
if
but
the
that's
person
a
is
theory.
coming from within?
That's his own theory. So yeah, and he's defending his theory. So
I know that people do wrong things in government, and there's nobody who can convince me that there's nobody who did wrong things in this government like in previous governments. Yeah. I also believe that persons who manage the state affairs in a manner as to violate the law should be held accountable for their actions.
Sure.
The way to do that is you have to do it in a manner that people will believe that justice is being done, that you are prosecuting the people and not persecuting them. Who you choose to do this is absolutely important. If you choose somebody that the public opinion is this person has a personal problem, he has a personal agenda and a vendetta against the exiting party which is in government, then you create problems of acceptance of whatever decisions he will make. And the opinion is important. So you may want to pick someone else. You may want Madiamidi to play some other role other than this one, because we know that he will go out for people.
Okay.
He will go after them. And if he were to do that, they will simply say, Madiamidi worked for the interest of the NPP, and he has been paid for it.
Will he go out for people irrespective of which party they come from?
The law is immaterial for them. It is not whether the law is on their side or not. Anybody who has been prosecuted on the basis of law.
Okay, enough of Martin Amidu. We'll need to see what happens with Martin Amidu and that special office. But then I would like to take your views on what President Mahama said, talking to the opposition, or the president-elect to call his party's members to book and all of that with the violent acts and all of that. And what he said, the president-elect said at the inauguration in relation to that. Is that a strong statement enough to help solve this problem? Because as for the suggestions that you make about dealing with the problem, I don't know, because the laws are there, they are not being enforced. And I don't know how we're going to enforce our laws to make sure that this cycle is broken. But at least we can talk about what the leadership of those parties have done about the thing and whether or not it's enough to stop something like this from escalating in any way.
I feel the police has been urged to take action, and the police should take action.
The police knew they should take action in the first place.
The president has spoken, and the police, they're supposed to act. They should act. They shouldn't have actually waited for the president to speak first. But now, well, if you've waited, the president has said what he has to say. Move and do something about it. But yes, the political figures can only do so much. They can only plead. They can only...
Plead?
That's at best. Because it's the police that are supposed to take action, as I'm saying. But you're pleading with your supporters to tell them that, hey, don't do this. It's unreasonable. It's not necessary. It's needless. That's how far you can go. But then the law has to work.
Elton, does that sound okay for you? I mean, that these two leaders will come and say, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, the police should act. Wait, the police should have acted already.
Of course, they don't need a president to direct them to do what they are paid to do. But the fact of the matter, these are political actors, at play. I remember when they were signing the peace accord before the election. Remember what Nana Akufo-Addo said in his comments after the signing ceremony, where he pointed out the fact that some of MPP supporters were being attacked in the Borno region, especially by somebody relating to a cabinet minister in the Mahama administration. Now, the election is over. Now, we are being told that some NDC members are also being attacked. The call by the president is to the police to act. It appears to me, though, that it is difficult for the police, especially to deal with political, related violence. And that is a major issue. Until the police realize that they are independent, and of course crime knows no political color, and that they will act without being directed by an authority, then we'll get somewhere. The way it is, before the elections, we heard of so many, attacks, pictures were shown, evidence were presented. Not a single person was arrested to serve as a deterrent to others. Now, people out of celebration have taken the laws into their own hands because of maybe what they were promised in private by their own political actors. Now, on a platform, it is made to be seen as though we are exonerating ourselves from what is happening. We are asking the police to act. The police must act, but to what extent and to what end? Would they be able to stand on their feet and prosecute people they will be arresting irrespective of their political colors?
And not interfere when the police make any arrests?
Clearly, you have what? Very soon we're going to have an interior minister whom the Inspector General of Police will report to. Is the person going to be firm and strong and stand?
Are there any names?
Well, I don't know yet. I didn't say unless you want to go by the transition. There's transition list that you can say that a certain name is pointing towards a certain direction. But for now, I think that the police must be up and doing. And I don't know how, when Obama came here, we were told to, build strong institutions, strong men.
Did we even need Obama to tell us that? Everybody refers to that phrase, and I wonder, did we need him to tell us that the institutions must work? Why did we put the institutions there in the first place?
I disagree anyway. We need strong men. If we have strong men, we will have strong institutions. I think the biggest problem...
How about we need both?
Well, if we have strong men, and I'm saying this because a lot of these actions happen, and Israel was saying, oh, the politicians should tell their supporters that this action is unreasonable. But the person who is engaged in this action is unreasonable themselves. See, how do you tell an unreasonable person that stop an unreasonable action? The people
it's
are
the law that puts them in check, but then it's the enforcement of the law.
You see, everywhere in the world, there are no good citizens. People know that if you behave in a manner which is inconsistent with the provisions of the law, there will be a consequence.
Yeah.
Here, there is no consequence. I have seen foreigners.
Come on, there are consequences. Except that, is the extent to
Where is the consequence? I've seen foreigners in this town drink water and drop
something they would not ordinarily do in their own countries.
They will never do that because they know there's a consequence. Here, it doesn't happen. I'm saying we need strong men because if we had strong men like the late Awuni, who would take an action regardless of what the repercussions are, sometimes there are personal things that they suffer, personal consequences. Right. I know that the late Awuni suffered too many consequences. His promotion had been delayed. Sometimes his promotion he's actually suffering a setback. At one point, he actually threatened that he was going to go to the media if they withheld his promotion again.
He told you this? You can't
say the late Awuni threatened that he was going to go to the media if they withheld his promotion again. I know several instances where he was engaged in investigations that the political authorities were against. I know that when he spoke, when some demonstrators in the Eastern region were going on a demonstration over salary matters, and he said they should go ahead, and if they demonstrated, everybody would benefit. I know he was hot to Accra to come and explain.
I see.
So there are policemen who are timid and are afraid because if they take action and deal with people by enforcing the law, they themselves will suffer consequences. Because of that, nobody wants to suffer the indignity that comes with enforcing the law, so they will stay away. If we had sufficient numbers of strong police officers who would do their jobs and not bother about what the consequences are and what they will suffer personally, and you have many of them doing this, it will stop. Unfortunately, we don't have. The few we have, the Awunis, are not there.
But you see, the talk about strong institutions, it's just to show that, or if you have a strong person, and that strong person is no longer there, then you have a weak institution.
So if you have strong men, strong men, they will be there, and the institution will be strong.
But then if the strong man is not there,
you can guarantee a strong institution will remain strong.
But strong men will be replaced by strong men, and so the institution will be strong.
A system that works doesn't really require a strong person to move it. That is my opinion. But if you have a strong man, the strong man will not last forever.
But how would the institution be strong? The institution is only strong. The institution is made up of individuals. If those individuals are not men of steel and will not stand up and take decisions which are regardless of whose ox is God, then the institution itself is not there.
But what
because
Israel
the
is saying
institution
is that
not
when
there
those men are
without-
not there, so let me give you an example. Okay, so before I came back here, our church in the UK, myself and Adelaide, our church decided to take us out. We went out, it was a Sunday evening, and they parked their vehicles wherever they, we just parked our vehicle. We thought it was okay to park there. Apparently there was an information that we did not read. So we went, we had fun and we came back, and all of them had tickets. They were going to pay £60 each, and if it's beyond 14 days, they get to pay £120. And then we were like, oh, but this is Sunday evening. Adelaide was like, Sunday evening, who does that on a Sunday evening? I said, you want a system that works? This is a system that works. Okay, so
indeed. And it doesn't also have to see you can eliminate the people, and make it work.
The system.
If you have, for instance, if you're out there, you cross a red light, you jump a red light, the camera picks you,
yes,
and automatically it will generate a fine for you. And you'd have to pay.
And it's sent to your house.
You don't need a strong. You don't need a strong man
to do that.
I know what you are talking about because I've been in such jurisdictions before, and even here.
Yeah.
There's this guy he's an Okada guy, and sometimes I use him if I'm in a hurry to get somewhere and I can't drive. There's traffic. So this guy picks me. We get to Ridge Hospital. After the Ridge Hospital, there's this roundabout before the Total filling station before Mental Hospital. So the guy stops.
The Shell filling station.
Shell. The guy stops there because he rides across the red light all the time, and I have fights with him. When he got there, he stopped. And I asked him why. I said, sure, here there are cameras. If you ride across
but how many cameras are there?
You don't need somebody to be there.
When we put in place the system, basically that's what it is.
I'm citing this to illustrate the point that where the systems work and where there's consequence, people will act in accordance with law. The reason why he didn't ride across this red light is because he knows that there are cameras and he will be caught. And if he's caught, he will be punished.
So it wasn't because of a strong man.
No, there was nobody there.
A strong institution.
The system is working.
The
system is working.
It's a system, not institution. I'm saying that I agree that we must have better institutions, better systems, but we must have strong men who will put those systems in place.
Okay, I think it's a bit of both that will help us. But anyway, our next topic will be the church and party paraphernalia. I don't know if all of you, of course, Malik, you didn't go to church, but three of us, I don't know, Israel, did you go to church?
I didn't go to church too.
Okay, did you go to church?
Yeah, I went for the first mass.
I went to church as well, and we've seen some videos, pictures, and a lot of people who have gone to church today have said, today, the colors that are dominating in churches today are the blue, white, red, the colors of the end. There's party paraphernalia throughout the church. I mean, in my own church, there was. And there's this funny excitement. There's this funny excitement in churches with yes, okay. Sincere apologies for that video. We're going to have to work on it and, turn it over so you can have an idea of what we're talking about. And some people think that this is a dangerous trend. This is something that we must not encourage.
I think it's normal.
I'm going to start with Elton. I'm going to start with Elton. Elton.
Personally, I don't like the idea of we introducing politics into the body of Christ.
I think politics has always been there. It's the blatant show of it, the blatant show of excitement when it's supposed to be a place where everybody else comes together and we are being spiritual.
Because everybody is to be accepted in the house of the Lord. But when politics is introduced, it will tend to divide the people. Because I know there are some churches in Ghana, the people are aware of the political, lineage of their leaders, and it has hard effects on
the church,
on even the members.
Any examples?
Yeah, because a pastor, for example, is supposed to preach to everybody.
Okay, so here's a picture of a particular church today. You see a lot of excitement in this. Almost everybody's wearing white. And, it's not like an MPP church. It is supposed to be a church for MPP, NDC, PPP,
everybody.
Everybody.
Are you saying that there wouldn't be NDC people who wear white and also go and praise the Lord?
There would be, but is that is that a good thing for us as a people?
No, for all you know, they're people who are wearing white, they're NDC people, and they're happy for Ghana.
Okay, I am totally, I disagree. I disagree with Elton on this.
They say Nanado in that. Oh, they're thinking Onapo. That's what they're thinking.
Onapo is me and NDC.
Yeah, but
it's me and NDC.
But it's political.
So the MPP people can even argue and say, why are you playing NDC song in
no,
church?
Malik, you think Malik, you go to the mosque on Friday, right? Yes. If this should happen in the mosque, for instance, will it be a normal thing? Or will it be extremely odd?
I don't see it happening. I don't think anyone will wear party stuff to the mosque.
But
if that were to happen, I won't have a problem with it. Okay. I don't see why anyone should have a problem with it. Okay. Elton's point is, this is a place of worship, and so we must come together. Why?
I think this has it may divide the house because
dividing the house are not the party colors, but the people. Because already the people you are seeing there are already MPP in the church. Whether they wear the cloth or not, they are MPP. The people who are NDC, whether they wear NDC colors or not, they are NDC. And these people all are in the church. I do not think that the colors should be any problem. In any case, why should I have a problem with wearing a party color to the church?
Okay, the problem here is that, and Malik, if I should
you're looking at the circumstances that which the color.
Yeah, what's the
circumstances? So the problem here is that after,
so that they could have celebrated with
okay, guys,
if they celebrated without
NDC people.
If they celebrated without
so the problem is that at the end of the day, hold on for me, please. Now the problem is that at the end of the day, we know where it's like you know where everybody else stands.
Why should that even be a problem?
And so but that's how you looking at it from a very
civilians
for a very common sense point of view. What about the people who cannot be tolerant? That tolerant.
Then that's a problem with the people. It's not a problem with the situation.
Here's the way I'd like us to look at it. Okay. These are people who are in churches. Let's say their party has won.
Yes.
And there's so much excitement. They have to channel it somewhere. And they decide to go to church to do that. It's better than they being out there on the streets, attacking people and pulling down posters.
Okay.
So I think we should tolerate them for this time. I doubt that they're going to show up next week, Sunday, in the
Trust me, we will see some.
No, but
we will see some.
I frankly don't have a problem with it because I think that, but for the manner in which we have made our politics, why should it even be a problem that we know who is? Don't we know in the church?
Yes.
We don't know who is MPP and who is NDC. We know. We know all the people. We know who are NDC and who are MPP. Even if we don't know, and we've just found out. Why should that be a problem? Why should anybody be worried?
You see, and in any case, why do we want to think that these people who are jubilating are actually they are not card-bearing members of the party? They voted this way this time around, and they're happy this party is in power.
Another time they may vote
another way.
I see. Let's talk about Gambia then, and how the elections have gone in Gambia. We've got a few minutes to wrap up, and so I'm trying to put this together so we can deal with it. Gambia, there was an election. The opposition leader won. He won by 43.34%. But then the results were revised, and the country's electoral commission did that revision. And once they did that, it's changed. It narrowed Mr. Barrow's margin of victory from 9% to just about 4%. It still doesn't change the fact that he had won the election. But then we saw the incumbent president come out to say that I will not accept it. That's what's happening. We've seen a lot of condemnation for him, but then I don't know. I fear how this is going to end up. We know Yahya Jammeh. We know what he's capable of. He's congratulated the guy already, but then he comes out to say that's scary, isn't it? Wouldn't you say?
I think it's very disappointing, because especially when right after the election, the declaration of the result, he came out and he said that he had conceded, and you called up the guy and all that. And then, all of a sudden this thing happens. And I posted that video of him, calling up Adama Barrow and congratulating him, and they having a very hearty chat. And it got he got quite a lot of commendation. People just went on the video, and the comments that were coming there was just marvelous, and people were saying this is great and all. So I find it very, very, very disappointing. I'm actually in a bit of a shock. Like, I've lost an election.
Oh, and, come on, Israel.
and wondering why he's doing that. And I feel that maybe something has just come over him, and I'm hoping that whatever has taken over him, it will go away, and then he'll say, okay.
Because there's a difference. Actually, he has a concern. There's a difference. The country's electoral commission comes out, and I think that, wouldn't you say that the problem is with the electoral commission, because they come out to say that, okay, there's a problem. Now we're reviewing, and by reviewing, the margins have reduced from 9% to 4%. So he's thinking that there could be more.
No, my understanding is that he's doing this probably because of some comments
coming
from the incoming administration.
Is that so? Elton, what?
Yeah, the man granted an interview to the BBC where he spoke about the fact that he would take steps to free people who are in prison for politically motivated charges.
I see.
People who are in exile, he will ensure that they come back home. And these are people who went to exile because of persecution from Yahya Jammeh and other issues. And then the Gambia's relationship with the ICC and all that. So it appears to make Jammeh that this guy is really going to go after me.
Yeah, second thoughts.
Yeah, and then that may be that may be influencing the reason, the decision to now withdraw his earlier message of congratulation and to say that there were irregularities and we want the EC to come. I think he's had his time. He should just accept defeat. The people didn't vote for him. He should accept it. And then
some voted for him.
Allow the man to have his peace and then form his government.
Malik, do you see a conclusion? What's the conclusion you see? Will there be any time soon?
It's difficult when you are dealing
looking at his track record,
because he appears to be a very unstable man. Absolutely. So it's difficult to tell how things will pan out. Before we got on, I was just talking to Jahunyan, and you know,
who is Gambian?
Yeah, who is Gambian?
Part Gambian, part Ghanaian,
and
of course.
she says,
and just so you know, Jahunyan is one of our key producers.
Absolutely, fantastic lady,
she's just
fabulous person, great work.
I can't find the words.
Great work ethic, creative.
Right.
So she said she was actually expecting this to happen.
Oh,
really?
Yes.
Is that who you were?
Yes. She said she was expecting this to happen because when Yahya Jammeh conceded, she knew that something was wrong.
Wow.
So she knew something was wrong, and that she knew that which was wrong would be right.
Oh,
so her reason is actually the reverse of what Israel is thinking. So they were expecting this to happen.
Wow.
And my question to her was, why are the citizens not rising up? Because if this happened in Ghana, I am sure that by this time the whole nation would have been turned upside down.
I think it's the media and civil society organizations that push for some of these things. But then he has dealt with the media in Gambia in ways that they probably have lost their voices already. And so that is the difference perhaps that we have with the...
It's not the media. In the Burkina Faso, when the people stood up and chased what's his name out, it was not the media. Blaise Compaoré out. It was not the media. The people just, it was a spontaneous action. What she told me is that Gambians naturally are very laid back, docile, quiet, tolerant people.
Same as we.
Well,
if you talk to East Africans, if you talk to East Africans, they feel that Ghanaians and Nigerians are too aggressive. We are too loud.
No way. You can't compare Ghanaians. The aggression level of Nigerians.
I've spoken to...
let's stay with Gambia. Let's stay with Gambia. And you can see the story right now on your screen. It's a story from the BBC saying that he will be... No, there's an update. He will be contesting the case in court.
Which is good.
Which is good. Which is good. Yes. Okay, Malik.
So, well, if he can reject the result and go to court, if the court takes a decision, what will happen? He will reject it, because we know that one of our celebrated justices went to Gambia, was one of the, I think was the chief justice or so. Eventually what happened? She had to leave the country.
Actually, yes. Actually, she was being, you know.
Yes. So that means he's going to court because he believes that the court will just cook it for him. If the court sticks to the law and say no, he will say, okay, well, go to hell.
Maybe this is a way to satisfy his own ego and say that, well, I contested it.
I think that the citizenry that voted against him must rise up.
Okay, well, we have to wrap up. We have to wrap up, but we can't do that without touching on this quickly. International media coverage of Ghana's election.
We will leave that to Israelites.
Yes, of Ghana's election. And one of the my thesis, you know, the recent thesis that I wrote for my master's was about how international media cover African countries. And one of the problems we see, this is a clear example of the things that I was pursuing. We see what we call parachute journalism here. They sit somewhere, write the story. So there were major errors in the particular story. Israel, you've seen that story. They said we're queuing up for commodities.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that story. We shouldn't have had a story like that. In the
How come? Place. They had you. I mean, they deal with you. Sometimes you send them stories.
Yeah, but well, in this case, they didn't deal with it. There are stories that I've written, and you see my byline on it. This one clearly doesn't have my byline, so please, I didn't write it.
But they should have contacted you at least. I mean, how can you write about Ghana's election without the Ghanaian correspondent or anything like that?
If they had called, if anybody had approached me, I would have. You know,
they should have even sent the story to you and say, "Can you check?"
Exactly, read through.
How much would they have paid?
Yes.
Not much.
And the thing is that these things cause.
Which camera am I looking at? Yeah. If you're watching, please.
And the thing is that these have implications for a nation's image out there. Yeah. Because even there was a corrected version of the story, and even in the corrected version, they say Mahama belongs to the NDP. But that is erroneous.
The elections in 1998.
That was the corrected version. Israel, what's going to happen?
I guess they're going to correct it again. But I think that it's going to get to a point. At this point, I feel that somebody must issue an apology.
So it's embarrassing.
There should be
but for the queuing for food, some are saying that probably the person saw.
People queuing.
People watching
for Ati. So
that's for social media. That's for social media. But clearly, this is something that is unpardonable if you can put it that way.
It's embarrassing actually, because a respected media house such as that cannot talk about a self-respecting society such as we have and put out facts which are entirely untrue and virtually undermine our
The good thing is that there's social media to put them in. So there's a hashtag going on. Victor Brachi told you about it. CNN get it right.
If I was to do I didn't want to.
Your final comment is right.
I didn't want to jump into the fray, but if I was to do the hashtag, I would have done CNN do yawa.
Malik, your final word, and then we wrap this up.
Well,
1 minute.
I think that I am a proud Ghanaian. What I saw at the inauguration of the transition team, both presidents, the president-elect, current president, the respective teams of Safo Mafu and others, Hagin, Julius Debra, and everybody. I think that this makes us, we stand out. We are a different breed of Africans, and I think that this furthers that pride that all of us have in this state.
Thank you very much, Malik. You have any final words, Elton?
Yes, I just want to say that the political attacks, even the true, must stop, because we are all one, and let's support the outgoing and the incoming for a better Ghana.
For a better Ghana. Israel, you already had your say.
About the attacks, I just want to say that don't believe everything you see on social media, because a lot of these things that I put out, you wait for us to verify it, and we're here to verify it for you. Malik, editor of My Joy Online, if there are any such stories, once you see it on My Joy Online, you're more inclined to believe that indeed.
The Wafake one, I've been trying to verify it since yesterday.
Apparently it's not
Apparently
true,
it's not true.
Okay.
But I won't tell you where I got the pictures from.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. This has been Editors Forum, and you've been with us right here on Joy News. You know, we've been giving you back-to-back coverage of the election 2016, because this, of course, is your election headquarters. My name is Gifty Andopi. I have been here with Elton Brobe, and I've also been here with Israel Laye. I don't want to say the nickname. I've also been here with Malik Abbas Dabo, and it's been a very interesting discussion. I believe that you've got something that could, you know, push some food for thought into your mind if you care for it. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again, but please stick and stay with us if you are a lover of news, of course.